ugly sh**.
Glad you could be with us as we go through the night here at the Weather Channel. Time now for Storm Watch, and we are covering a dangerous system in the tropics. That's Hurricane George, and we're also looking at some heavy rain through the overnight hours in parts of the heartland of America. We'll be taking a look at both of these situations. We'll start it off, though, in the tropics with our tropical update. And we take a look at the big picture here, and really at this point, there are two systems that we're concerned about. One is Hurricane George, which is coming in to the Leeward Islands as we speak and working its way through the Leeward Islands with some very, very bad conditions across the northern Leeward Islands. And then farther out, you can just see it here, this is Tropical Storm Ivan. We'll take a look at that momentarily, but I first want to take a look at what's happening with Hurricane George. As of 2 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is the latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center, placing the center of George about 15 miles west-southwest of Antigua in the Leeward Islands, with top winds of 115 miles an hour. Now, the good news is that's down quite a bit from yesterday when the top winds were up to 150 miles an hour. But the bad news is 115 is still a devastatingly strong wind, and we suspect we're going to be dealing with a lot of damage in these islands, and they are no stranger to damage from hurricanes. After all, it was just a few years ago that Luis and Marilyn and Hugo have all come through right in this area. George is moving westward at 16 miles an hour, and the pressure at about 966 millibars. Here's what it looks like on the satellite picture. You can see the darker red, the heaviest convection, moving right over the islands of Antigua and over into Barbuda, and then onward into places like St. Kitts and Nevis and heading up into the Dutch West Indies. As we look at places like St. Martin also, and then also in the path of this storm, the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. We do have hurricane warnings up from Dominica all the way up to Puerto Rico, and then further to the west, the Dominican Republic under a hurricane watch, and further to the south from St. Lucia to Martinique under a hurricane watch and a tropical storm warning. Now, at this point, Puerto Rico, things are fine in terms of the current weather. That will change, and that also applies into the U.S. Virgin Islands. We're looking here at the radar based out of San Juan. You can see just some scattered showers across the area. And the center of the hurricane in this area here, there's Antigua right here, so we're talking right in just to the west-southwest is the center of circulation, and pretty soon we'll start seeing the rain shield moving into range of the San Juan radar, so then we'll be able to start seeing the rain as the system better as it marches in towards the Virgin Islands and in toward Puerto Rico. So a dangerous situation. The wind field, hurricane force winds are ashore here into the northern Leeward Islands, and with this storm moving to the west-northwest, these winds will be heading in toward the area of the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. So batten down the hatches. It is going to deteriorate weather-wise during the day on Monday and into Monday night. Now here is George working its way through the islands. Also far to the west, we're talking about we're talking about Ivan. And Ivan, a tropical storm, top winds of 40 miles an hour and moving west-northwest at 14 miles an hour, centered 580 miles west of the Cape Verde Islands. As we can see on the satellite picture, though, it is apparently making more of a turn to the north somewhat, and that is certainly some good news, as it would keep it out over open water and away from any threat to land, and that is certainly some excellent news. Let us head back now to the land of the United States, and we are looking at some strong thunderstorms possible along this front, stretching from the eastern Great Lakes down the Ohio River Valley and into eastern Kansas and central and western Missouri. As we see on the radar picture, we do have some thunderstorms rumbling through northern Ohio at the present time. No warnings out with these storms right now. Farther to the south, we have some very stormy conditions getting ready to cross over the Kansas border into southern Missouri. So watch out here into southwestern Missouri. Could be dealing with some stormy weather through the night, and anywhere in here could see some very heavy rain, up to 3 inches possible. We've been seeing some unsettled weather into northeastern parts of Colorado as well. No warnings out right now, and heavy rain continues across parts of Tennessee and Florida. We'll be back with more info within your local forecast next.
Make your dreams a reality. Reach out for positive energy. You feel the power when you take control. If you want it all you've got to do is pick it up. Get it on with the psychic solution.
Hi, I'm Tammy, and as you can see, my life is great now. But when my friends ask, I admit that I didn't do it alone. I tried for years and never could find the answers by myself. But now I do have it all. And it all started with that first free psychic reading. I'm proof that one free call can really change your life. Believe me, good luck is waiting for you, and so is love. But you've got to reach out and take it. Hey, what if I had never tried that first free reading? Without my psychic, this would all still be a dream. So don't just dream of a better life, do something about it. Call right now.
Don't wait any longer. Today, there's been obviously some weakening with 110-mile-per-hour sustained winds. Good news there, but bad news in the sense that George is still a very powerful hurricane. Moving west-northwest at 17, and the pressure 967 millibars. Hurricane warnings in effect right now from the eastern part of the Dominican Republic all the way south and southeast through the island of Dominica. Though the tropical storm warnings and hurricane watches, I believe, that were in this area, Martinique to St. Lucia, they've all been canceled as George moves away from this region and conditions improve through the area. Latest enhanced satellite picture again shows the signature of some weakening of the hurricane during the last 24 hours. If you remember at this time yesterday morning, out east of the islands, a very symmetrical storm with a perfectly round, distinct eye in the middle of the central dense overcast. This morning, the storm more elongated a bit to the southeast, northwest, indicating that conditions have become a little less favorable for a Category 4 hurricane. That's good news. The bad news is it's still a formidable force of weather, if you will, here in the northeastern Caribbean. And already in Antigua, I believe, one of the islands, a wind gust of 116 miles per hour earlier this morning, and sustained winds of 94, 95 miles an hour. Recently, winds in the Virgin Islands have increased to about 50 knots as the hurricane approaches. And Puerto Rico, while it's pretty nice right now, the breezes are beginning to pick up, and it's kind of an ominous sight on the eastern horizon as Hurricane George approaches you, and you're going to have some rough weather as the day unfolds, obviously. The wind field around George looks like this, with the hurricane force winds, I believe, about 75 miles from the center of the hurricane. Eastern Atlantic, few disturbances we'll watch. This, I believe, is Tropical Storm Ivan out here. It probably will stay out in the open ocean waters. And the big story again, George, as it moves through the islands this morning. As we head to the eastern Pacific, all's quiet. While in the western Pacific, we've got Vicky right here. A tropical storm should become a typhoon, probably brushing the island of Japan during the next 24 to 36 hours. Back to the States. Big storms this morning in the Missouri Valley. Showers and storms southeast. Very cool air is another weather feature, with a bit of frost this morning in parts of North Dakota, eastern Montana, and northern Minnesota. Readings in the low to mid 30s. And tonight, fairly widespread late summer frost in northern Wisconsin and upper Michigan. That's not out of the question. The front here dividing cooler air mass, certainly an autumn-like air mass, Great Lakes and Midwest, from warm summertime steamy conditions, mid-Atlantic and northeast. Right now, skies are fair in New York City and in Boston, and it should be at least a partly sunny beginning to the week. We think in the big cities of the mid-Atlantic and northeast, only a slight chance of showers or thunder showers developing. A better chance in the southeast. Why is that? Well, basically, we've got the remnants of Hermine, an ex-tropical storm, now just tropical low pressure over the south. And even though it's very disorganized, there are pockets of heavy precipitation like this one. We show the satellite signature of heavy rains over Alabama right now, just to the northeast of Birmingham. In Florida, locally heavy rain in the Florida Panhandle. And as we go back to the radar here, it's actually southwest of Birmingham that the heaviest rains exist. Also southeast Tennessee, some pretty good tropical downpours for you. And as well, parts of Kentucky, Lexington, up to just about Pittsburgh, including Youngstown and Cleveland. It's wet and more storms this morning in the Missouri Valley, while a cold rain is falling over western sections of Nebraska with a raw east and northeast wind through this region. Temperatures 40s right now in Scottsbluff, 30s Bismarck, but south of the front it's in the 70s in St. Louis. So we've got a battle of the air masses here today, and some strong storms could be the result. Well, stay with us for your local forecast and then the latest on our powerful hurricane.
Tropical weather systems are affected by so many variables.
We constantly monitor the situation.
If someone is safer by watching the Weather Channel, that's what it's all about.
Now those fantastic restaurant onion creations can be made right in your own home. Introducing the Great American Steakhouse Onion Machine. It's easy, it's fun, and it's oh so onion delicious. Don't confuse the Steakhouse Onion Machine with those hard-to-use plastic gadgets that only do small onions. You start with a nice large onion, trim and clean, then remove the center. Place the onion under the stainless steel blades of your Steakhouse Onion Machine and push down. You'll have a perfect onion creation. Just dip it and cook it in oil or bake it in the oven. In no time, your onion is golden brown delicious, just like they serve it in the restaurant. It's a special treat for the kids and great for your own parties. Call now and get this deep frying basket and colorful recipe book. It's only $19.99. So order your Great American Steakhouse Onion Machine now.
To order the Onion Machine for only $19.99 plus shipping, have your credit card ready and call 1-800-482-5577. Sorry, no CODs.
Paying too much for car insurance isn't any smarter. Geico, a 15-minute call could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
This man represents all the people who switched their car insurance to Geico last week. Sir, please raise your hand. 10,000 times.
And that location is at least 50 miles away from the center of Hurricane George. All right, much more coming up, by the way, at the top of the hour with our hurricane expert, Dr. Steve Lyons. We go to the eastern Atlantic, a few disturbances. This is a tropical wave. This is Tropical Storm Ivan, which looks like it's going to curve out into the Atlantic, and certainly is not our top story. Hurricane George is.
On the radar, we do have the circulation center, which is that dot right there. I'll remove the dot and draw the overall circulation here, which is probably more important. But there it is there, moving just north of west, and it'll continue on at about 17 miles per hour in that general direction.
Okay, this is St. Martin right up and through here. I put a little extra dot there, but this is where we've seen winds gusting to 90 miles an hour. And right down and through here, this is St. Kitts, and Nevis just up to the north, so it looks like the storm pretty much passed right over them overnight and early this morning.
And it appears that the strongest winds, as usual, are occurring in the heavier rain bands, and those rain bands will come and go as the storm moves to the west. So be prepared for the worst conditions associated with a hurricane, and you'll be in better shape.
Okay, and it looks like a rain band is approaching Puerto Rico. What can we expect with these little bands?
Yeah, these bands probably will see some gusts to tropical storm force at the ground, and those gusts will slowly but surely be increasing in time.
Okay, and as we take a look at the wind profile, there we see the winds bearing down on the Virgin Islands.
Yes, we do, and of course, north of the center, up in this area, the radii of winds is a little bit larger than the southern half, but the southern half, you still have the eye wall and some tropical storm force winds extending well away from the center. So all of the Virgin Islands and anybody are near there, and all the islands just off the southeast coast of Puerto Rico, watch out for rapidly deteriorating weather.
Okay, thank you very much. And with that weather bearing down on the Virgin Islands for you, on the phone we have Donovan Gentles, National Disaster Coordinator, Emergency Operations Center, Tortola, British Virgin Islands. Good morning, sir. Tell us a little bit about the conditions there.
Hi, morning. Well, at present we are experiencing very squally conditions. I think we're seeing pretty much same conditions as they're experiencing now in St. Thomas. We're expecting it to, the weather conditions to deteriorate as we get further on into the morning and this afternoon.
How have your emergency operations been going so far? Is everybody pretty much prepared for the storm?
Yes, we have been preparing since late Thursday into Friday, so we're pretty much buttoned down now and just sitting tight and waiting the storm out.
Okay, thank you very much, and we'll get a little bit more information as the morning wears on. And the reports out of the British Virgin Islands, squalls are just beginning to come on in. After the storm moves through this area, what happens to the U.S.? As we take a look at our satellite picture, we can see that the storm is in a rather ominous position for the Bahamas, maybe even for Florida.
That's right. Of course, Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Haiti, and Cuba, and also the southeastern Bahamas as well. It should generally continue on a south from the east-southeast toward the west-northwest.
Okay, I think we have a graphic to show that. A quick look at the forecast for the future of the storm.
Well, maybe, there we go. And you can see this is sort of the air bar associated with the typical track forecast as we go out in time, but you can see that the general direction is over the islands there, and of course there is some chance that it would do this, there's some chance it would continue this way, but in general right now it looks like it's going to be generally within that cone of estimation.
Okay, thank you for all of your input in through there. And those of you in the southeast U.S. and Bahamas certainly want to keep up to date on this storm. Stay with us for more weather information at weather.com. If you're away from your television set, check us online. And now with your forecast for today, here's Kristen Dodd.
And we are going to see a cool front come through the Midwest, showers and thunderstorms.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso with you for this edition of Storm Watch, and we'll start you off by taking a look at the tropics where dangerous Hurricane George continues to head towards the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, and at the present time all precautions should be rushed to completion. Looking at the satellite picture on the last few frames here, we do see bad news. Looks like the storm may be trying to get a little bit better organized here. So we'll be watching this closely. It's borderline Category 2, Category 3 on the Saffir-Simpson scale. This storm is capable of quite a bit of damage, especially to trees and to buildings. As we look at the latest from the Hurricane Center, 17.5 north, 63.7 west, center of circulation 165 miles east-southeast of San Juan, Puerto Rico, only about 60 miles off to the east-southeast of St. Croix, and only about 85 miles away from St. Thomas. Winds still 110 miles an hour. Hurricane hunters investigating 966 millibars is the pressure. So still a very powerful storm, and it may be even trying to get a little bit better organized. Hurricane warning still in effect from Dominica right across Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands over to the Dominican Republic. Haiti may have hurricane warnings issued later today. Good news to report, though, is once you get south of Antigua, winds have really decreased, and they're now coming in out of the southeast. Those speeds only 10, 20 miles an hour. But we did see the high winds come through here overnight. Now we see the core of the winds just coming across the northeast Caribbean, across the leewoods, brushing by St. Martin, and now the tropical storm force winds just beginning at St. Thomas and St. Croix. Winds sustained over 30 miles an hour, over 40 miles an hour, I should say, and the winds have been gusting over 55 miles an hour. So rough edge of the leading edge of the tropical storm force winds with this red shade right here. So here you can see St. Croix, here's St. Thomas, and now we are looking at the winds on the increase. Center of the storm, pretty much right in through here, and it does appear that it may be trying to get a little bit better organized now in the Northeast Caribbean. Morning visible satellite picture shows you the clouds on the increase now in Puerto Rico and around Vieques here. So it hasn't been a bad morning, but conditions will really go downhill as the storm continues to cruise in your direction. Looking at the radar, you can see the center of the circulation right here. Another radar vantage point we have for you from the Doppler out of St. Juan, showing you the eye of the storm right in through here. And here you can see St. Kitts and Nevis, and here is St. Croix and St. Thomas a little bit farther north. Can expect winds 90 miles an hour sustained probably around St. Croix later on this morning, probably in the next 6 hours or so. Winds could gust 120 miles an hour or greater. St. Thomas, you could easily see winds gusting up to 100 miles an hour as this moves off in the general west-northwesterly direction. As we take a look farther out, here's Ivan, tropical storm. It's moving more towards the northwest. Does not look like it will be a threat to any land areas. Minimal tropical storm. And there you can see it here, just west of the Cape Verdes and pulling its way out into the North Atlantic. Closer in, well, the weather pretty tranquil in the western Caribbean. A little bit of an upper low here. Still some heavy showers coming into the coastal waters of Louisiana. Lastly, in the Far East, here we see Typhoon Vicky. That's bearing down on Japan with winds of 75 to 80 miles per hour. Closer to home, heavy rains around the Birmingham area. Localized flooding is certainly a problem here. Showers and thunderstorms will produce torrential rains, we think, where you see the orange. And there you can see the heavy rains this morning on the radar in the Birmingham area and the Ohio Valley.
Scattered showers and thunderstorms greet morning commuters from the Midwest to the Southeast. That and details on the tropics on Weather Center after your local forecast.
So, you're going to take your act on the road, huh?
Don't worry.
Well, at Alamo, the going rate is going down.
Drive happy.
All the way down to $21 a day in Florida. And everywhere else in the U.S., just $29 a day. Is this a fun country or what? Call 1-800-GO-ALAMO today.
Don't worry. Drive happy. Drive happy now.
For more information, call 1-800-GO-ALAMO and drive happy.
I got $1 buying me a newspaper.
Preparations are underway in Puerto Rico as Hurricane George closes in. Food supplies and building materials